January 20th, 2024, it is the big day Dricus Du Plessis has been working his entire life towards to become the UFC Middleweight champion. Let's go chat some more about this inside here at CIT in Pretoria. So the last time we chatted was before Darren Till interview. It's been quite a while. How's
wow,
life?
Darren Till. Yeah, I mean, that was December 10th of last year. It's exactly a year ago.
Exactly. How's life?
Man, life's been busy.
Things changing?
Yeah, no, actually things aren't changing except for everybody don't think I'm a cardioless, useless fighter anymore. I guess that changed a little, but I mean, in terms of my life, training, everything, yeah, life's got a bit more busy, but all in a good way. And, training just, we're getting better every day, but overall, like, happy life, living my dream every day. It's amazing.
This is something I find very interesting about MMA and UFC communities is the amount of shit that people talk, unqualified. Like, you've proven yourself. You proved yourself before UFC, right? People don't understand that KSW is not just something where a couple of oaks have a bit of a fight in Europe. It's a proper thing. You proved yourself before you got there. And the amount of, ongoing shit talk around you, your style, your abilities, do you still find that surprising, or do you just kind of shut that off now?
Well, I mean, you kind of have to shut that off. And, if something like that throws you off, if you look at fighting, if something like somebody saying your cardio looks bad or your style sucks or whatever throws you off, I believe you better know when you're cutting the amount of weight that we do, if you are in a situation where somebody just hit you with an elbow in the face, you're as tired as people get in a fight, double distance sparring, you're going to quit immediately. So that kind of stuff, it's almost like it's nothing. But it's very important to realize that people are always going to have something to say. No matter how good you are, no matter how many fights you win, no matter who you beat, people are always going to have a problem with how things are being done, how you do things. But, after the Whittaker fight, everything almost went, people didn't go, oh, Dricus is a great fighter. People just were like, okay, we don't know what to say anymore. And for me, it wasn't that surprising because I always knew I had that in me. It was just, like I said from the beginning, finding my feet in the UFC octagon, obviously on the biggest stage in the world. And here we are now. I mean, it couldn't be better.
But that's also another interesting thing about your sport is that all these narratives get formed and you become a story. So right now, you, Dricus Du Plessis, are a UFC story.
Yeah.
I mean, if you go into YouTube, you go into any kind of publication around that does follow your sport, you're up there. And people do love those sort of narratives that get created. I mean, I always think that you're not shit in the sport until Chael Sonnen starts talking about you.
Yeah.
And I get the impression he's got a bit of a soft spot for you because of how he goes into your angles, into your path, into your style. I mean, is he someone that you enjoy the opinion of?
Well, Chael Sonnen, he said some stuff that I really like and agree with, and he said some stuff that I thought was really stupid and I really don't agree with. I remember the one time he said something like, he think that I didn't really have an injury after the Whittaker fight, and that I was scared of Adesanya, and I said, that's such a stupid thing to say. And it is a stupid thing to say. And he said, why would you say I'm stupid? I'm like, I did not say you were stupid, but if the shoe fits, at the end of the day, I've never been afraid of another man in my whole life. And, the Adesanya thing, everybody thought I fumbled that ball, but like I said, I tweeted out, a fumble's never looked this good, because here I am, the timing's perfect, it's worked out for me, and I'm fighting for the world title just in reasonable time, just in a time where it's fair.
Yeah.
I got a little bit of time off. I had injuries, and they're all sorted now. So, right now, I guess if you're fighting for a world title, you're at the top of the sport. So it's something we talk about. And for me, this is what I've been working for my whole life. So, I'm enjoying every moment of it.
It's quite funny because as all this controversy was happening, people were trying to make it a big deal about you, injury, dodging fights, all this kind of stuff. Something else played out in the middleweight division. Israel Adesanya, I think, has been an amazing champion because he feels he's bulletproof. It's like, I'll fight whenever. I'll be active. I'll be the most active champion. And then he got into that Strickland fight. And I think from that first round, he was like, oh shit. Okay, I haven't quite got the gears I need here. Maybe I've underestimated this guy. Do you think he might have had an issue with workload that he wasn't really addressing because he thought he could just plow through?
Yeah, it's a very interesting, like, only he would know, his team would know. If there was an excuse, I think they would have given it. They would have said something if there was a training issue, if there was a lack of motivation. No, not a lack of motivation, because that's what I think happened. I think there was a lack of motivation in fighting Sean Strickland, the guy who was the number 6 ranked guy. The motivation was to fight me. I think that would have been great for him. It would have been a motivating factor, because as somebody who's been at the top of the sport so long and beating everybody at the top, fighting a number 6 guy is almost like, why am I wasting my time with this? If you have the amount of money that he has a lot of money. So now he's getting an easy payday, and that's not, he doesn't need the payday. What he needs is to be motivated, and he was motivated to fight me. And I don't think he was motivated to fight Strickland. So I think his whole mindset, he needs to build something up in his head. I've seen that with him, to beat somebody. He needs a story. He needs somebody to, not make him angry, but needs to build a narrative in his head to fight somebody. And there was no narrative to fight Strickland. No, none at all. Even he couldn't even get one, even if he tried. And I think that was a problem for him. I don't think, I don't know. I don't think he's the kind of guy who didn't train hard. I don't think he was the guy. I think it was 100% purely mental, that he didn't feel the motivation to go out there and perform. And in this sport, that's a problem with wanting to fight a person and not wanting to fight for a goal. And so many people ask me, how did I do this, make this shift? Because all the attention was on Adesanya, and this was this build-up and hype, and it's still the bigger fight for the world and for the people, but not for me. The moment Sean Strickland got that belt around his waist, my focus immediately shifted from Adesanya to Strickland, 100%. Because Adesanya has nothing for me right now. The only thing I want is that belt. And if he doesn't have the belt, then he's useless to me.
Now, he subsequently said that he's going to be taking some time off and an indefinite return. And, he does play it up because that's what you do in this sport. And he likes to troll on social media and that kind of stuff. What does that mean when you maybe have a bit more extra motivation through beef? I mean, if you look throughout your career, you've had a couple of guys that you want to actually fight, and you've had a couple of guys you want to beat. There's a slight difference, is that?
Yeah, I guess so. And I think it's very important. I think it's a weakness if you're fighting somebody that you want to beat. I think it's a mental weakness, and I don't have mental weakness. I think as soon as there's an extra motivation to beat somebody other than the win and the ranking, that's where the trouble comes in. A guy like Whittaker, everybody loves Robert Whittaker. I love Robert Whittaker. I'm such a fan. He's the nicest dude on earth. He's the super athlete, a super example of a man, of a fighter, of an athlete, of a warrior, and a proper martial artist. I went out there and I went there to kill him. If I had to kill him with one shot, so be it. And I've said this before, I'm willing to die, but I'm also willing to take a life when I go in there. And if you are the nicest guy in the world, and you are the biggest asshole in the world, at the end of the day, when we step into that ring, it makes no difference to me at all. I'm there to do my job. I'm there to do what I do, and that's beat somebody and take their ranking. And it's me or you. At the end of the day, that's a very important mind shift to make, because you get people without a narrative, they can't perform. And we saw that with Adesanya, where Alex Pereira brought the best out of Adesanya. After he lost, there was a narrative. There was such a big story and such a big personal thing with him that he could perform. But with Strickland, there was nothing. There was no personal, beef. There was this hyped up fake stuff that was so obvious that it didn't motivate anybody. And for me, I'm motivated by one thing, and that's being the greatest to ever do this sport. And that's why it doesn't matter who I fight. For me, it's about getting that belt, which is a step in the right direction of reaching that ultimate goal.
That's something I've always picked up with you, and I think we've spoken about this before a few times, is that whole champion mindset. And even, after the Whittaker win, you were saying, like, in my mind, I am the champion. I mean, you've always thought this. That's what I've always admired about you. And you were saying, like, I am the champion. I'm already in a mindset towards this. Do you feel like as you get more experience, as you get older, it's about really simplifying all these things down, and you really feel that you are more efficient with how you focus on things?
Yeah, I think 100%. It's actually weird to think about it, like when you say get older, but that's a fact of the matter. I've been doing this sport professionally now for over 10 years. And it's always been to this goal. There's been different goals. EFC champion, KSW champion, double champion. There's been a lot of steps that's you need to tick. And becoming UFC champion is one huge step in the right direction. It's one of the final steps in becoming the greatest of all time. But the efficiency, it's a very good point that you're making. And yes, because over these past 10 years, I've trialed and errored so many things. Not a lot of losses for the errors, but not a lot, but some performances where we realize, okay, this needs to change. This isn't working. And we change, go back to the drawing board. And that's what this is all about. This sport is growing so quickly every time. I mean, if you miss 2 events, or let's say one pay-per-view event, you don't watch another fight until the next one. It's almost like the skills and everything just doubled. Everybody just gets better every event. You watch the Apex events, small events, but the fights are amazing. And me and Coach always speak about it. In this sport, if you don't grow with the sport and adapt every single day, after every fight, no matter how good a performance, like against Whittaker, there were so many mistakes that we made. And it's easy to go and say, listen, you absolutely destroyed Whittaker, won the first round, dominated the second round, dominated on the ground. Everything was perfect, but that was very far from a perfect performance. It was just perfect enough to beat Whittaker on that night. But, you know, I give myself a 7 out of 10 for that performance, a 7 out of 10 of what I am really capable of. And every fight is going to get harder. Every fight I'm going to need to get closer to that 10 out of 10 performance to beat these guys, because everybody is getting better. And with this sport, we started realizing this doesn't work, so let it go. Because, you know, you could easily get carried away and working on so much small detail that you don't get time. You waste the time on the stuff that's really important. Because there's stuff that makes 3-5% difference in a fight. You can't spend 50% of your time on those kind of things. You need to spend 80% of your time on the stuff that really works. The normal, the boring, the stuff that plays a role in the fight. Your basic stuff. And your other 20% you can spend on things that make you different.
Yeah.
And embrace your style. I've done that. That's one thing, because my style is weird, awkward, and I always thought, like, my style doesn't look weird and awkward to me. Obviously, when I get to the UFC, everybody's like, this is the weirdest and most awkward fight in the world. And I go look at it, and I think, but this is always how I fought. And then I look at other guys, and I'm like, I can see I fight differently, but it feels like they are not as efficient as I. That's why I've always thought I could beat these guys, because I see how they fight, and I look at myself, I'm like, they should fight more like me, where everybody's like, Dricus should fight more than the rest of the guys. And I don't agree with that.
But that's the weird thing I find again about the criticism that is always kind of leveled towards you, is that this is fighting. This isn't show jumping.
Yeah.
You know, it's a very definite thing. Your goal is to beat that guy, is to render him useless in a physical sense, and therefore you become the winner. You know, like I heard some other bullshit kind of thing the other day. I think it was Brendan Allen. He said you're lucky.
Yeah, he said that. Well, listen, I'm very lucky then.
But have you ever heard someone say in life, better watch out, that looks lucky is going to fuck you up?
Yeah,
no one's ever said those words. So, like, getting back to this whole style thing, of course, you know, Strickland's a very definite kind of style person. He's in your face. There's not a lot of moving parts there. But all he does is he spars. That's all his training. The guy is constantly just taking gloves, and that's his whole thing. How does that sort of affect your camp now? Because obviously you know what your style is, you know what your strategy is. But for a guy like Strickland, who is a little bit different compared to other sort of top 10 guys in the UFC, in the middleweight division, how much has that sort of altered this sort of camp?
Yeah, I think I do see Strickland as one of the tougher guys in the division. If you look at in terms of, like, he's willing to take shots. He's not scared to get punched in the face. I said this. I think he's one of the toughest guys in the division, and I definitely consider myself the toughest, the mentally toughest guy in there. And I think the guy closest to me in that area will be Sean Strickland. You know, I hear a guy like comes out, I think he talks a lot. I think he talks about how tough he is and how he finishes people, but in his past 2 welterweight fights, he couldn't finish one of them. And I think he talks a much bigger game than he's really good, but not as good as you think he is. Where with Strickland, he has this I don't give a shit attitude. He really does. Like, he's almost that kind of guy who goes, never try, never fail. That's his attitude. And I think that's where people mistake him, goes wrong in fighting him. They think when he gets into there, he takes his training that way. The way he dresses, the way he talks, the way he's like that I don't give a shit attitude. But when it comes to his fighting and his training, people think he is the same way, and it's not the fact. When it comes, that's one thing that is important to him. is his training and his fighting. And he takes that very seriously. And I think that's how people are fooled when they fight him. I won't make that mistake. You know, with Sean Strickland, he has his style. And when he implements his style, he's absolutely great. He's absolutely great. But if he gets taken off of his style, he's not good. And for me, I feel what my weapon in this fight is the fact that I can adapt to any situation. We've seen that in a lot of fights where the first round really doesn't go my way. But to be able to make that changes immediately and go in and say, okay, this is how we fight this fight. And that's a big weapon to be, this is a fight. You can have all the plans in the world. When a fight happens, everything changes. Sometimes your plan works perfectly, like against Whittaker. The plan we trained worked perfectly. But in other fights, if you look at a Brad Tavares, the plan we had to go out there and fight him immediately went out the window after the first round because we lost that round far. And I went into the corner and said, so that plan didn't work, and we immediately changed the plan, and it worked. So I think that's going to be my biggest weapon in this fight is assessing the fight, and then we obviously have our game plan, how we're going to fight this fight. But if that doesn't work, you have to make the changes immediately.
It's interesting you mentioned Brad Tavares there. He's in Strickland's camp right now.
Yeah.
So they've been training partners on and off, and now obviously you're his opponents. He really wants him back. I've always been curious about this. Like, what would fighters do you think, to prepare against you? So he's obviously had a war with you, which he lost. Despite what he says, he thinks that if they run that fight back again, he'll win 9 times out of 10. Serious, I saw that on Instagram.
Yeah, I actually watched it yesterday.
Well, but what do you think, guys? How do you think guys prepare against you? We've spoken about awkward styles. We've spoken about the obvious things about you: your toughness, your size, your strength. Do you think guys have like a sort of game plan that's going to be interesting towards you, or is it just they need to play
I think guys look at me, and I think where they underestimate me. I think Brad Tavares said this. They don't realize the power that I possess. I don't think they realize with a small distance, how much power I can generate. That I can knock you out from a very short angle. I don't need the big punches, and my punches don't look like they're. And you use somebody as an example. If you look at a guy like Alex Pereira, if you look at his punches, you can see if those punches connect you going down. With my punches, the punches almost look like they won't hurt you, but the guys go down. And I think that's the difference between power and strength. And I don't think people also realize that the fact that I look slow, I look a little bit clumsy, but when it comes to my reach and how much longer my reach is much longer than people would think. And I think how I use my body, yes, it looks awkward, but I know how to perfectly use my body. I know where my strengths are, I know where my reach is, and I know I possess the power. And for a lot of people, preparing for me, they say, okay, Dricus he's a slow fighter. There's a lot of holes, but when they fight me, they quickly realize that it looks like a hole, but to me, it's a weapon. Because I'm doing everything the wrong way, but I'm doing it right.
Confidence is a massive thing in your sports, and it's very clear that the ones that have it don't always have it all the time, and that's why you can get these highs and lows. With you, you're a naturally very confident person because you obviously put the work in. So you've got a body of work, right?
Yeah.
None of this is just false arrogance or you're just trying. So much was said about your nose operation, your cardio, those sort of aspects. Going into camp now, obviously it's a camp for the title. That's going to make you feel confident. But do you have extra sort of levels of confidence now that you know that you have evolved, you kind of got this breathing issues out the way, you've actually proven to people you have great cardio?
Yeah, for me, I hated the fact that we used the narrative with the nose came out as an excuse, because for me that wasn't an excuse. It was just an explanation to why I'm breathing through my mouth, which obviously had some sort of an effect. But there was, like I said, we try to get better. We try to evolve and look at the way I'm approaching my strength, my conditioning, especially the conditioning area, my gas tank, my explosiveness, my power output. And we try to get better, because what we're doing here in South Africa right now in my team, we are pioneering in terms of fighting at the highest level in the world. And yes, like I said, there's a lot of mistakes that we make, but that leaves room for improvement, and that's what we keep on doing. And the last fight was so important to me personally, mentally, to go out there and say, cool, the nose is fixed. We changed up a lot of things with my conditioning, a lot of changes in the way I train, just purely because we were just revving too hard. We were going every training session going flat speed, trying to get in as hard. And every time I would get tired in a fight, we just added more, went harder, and every fight it felt worse and worse. Even though I had the heart and I had the power and I had everything to still pull it through, I knew that something was wrong. Why am I not getting the results of the work that I'm putting in? And we sat down. We got in a lot smaller people than me, and even coach. We had the best people in that we could possibly find to test, do everything possible, and see where is the holes in my body. Why do I get tired, even though I'm working harder than anybody else? And we found those. We found it's small details, but that's what makes a difference at the highest level. And that fight gave me the confidence, all the confidence in the world. I mean, after that fight, it was such a high-paced fight with Whittaker, but I wasn't even close to 60% when that happened. We were halfway through the fight. I felt absolutely incredible with that pace. It was a very, very high pace, and my cardio felt absolutely great.
So January the 20th, UFC 297. I know those words alone just make you feel excited.
Yeah.
It is now, what, your 7th UFC fight?
This will be my 7th.
This will be your 7th
yes.
UFC fight. So you kind of got a good idea what to expect when you get there. But again, you're the headliners. This event is called Strickland versus Du Plessis. What are you expecting that's going to be different? I mean, apart from media, those kind of things.
The biggest thing is now I don't have to sign somebody else's face. I can sign my own. And that's something that, for me, visualizing this my whole career, and I said it before on one of my fights, I said, it makes me jealous. I get jealous when I sign. I think it was the Whittaker fight. It made me jealous that I was fighting Robert Whittaker for number one contender, and I was still not on that poster because it wasn't a title fight. And, I want to be the guy on that poster, and here I am. I'm going to be the guy on the poster, and I believe I will be for a very long time. And, that's going to be different. Being the main attraction, I guess, getting to the scale and being able to weigh in first, everything is going to be different, but I'm mentally so prepared for this. I've been prepared for this. That's why with every fight, I make sure I'm at the scales first, making weight. So I get used to being there first. So nothing is new, nothing. And my years of experience in the UFC, being the main event, UFC had massive events. It's obviously not the level of the UFC, but it's as much as preparation in terms of production value and how professional the event was. KSW fighting main events, being the champion there. It's all prepared me for this moment. So my whole career has prepared me for this moment, and I will be ready to not only be used to and embracing the moment, but absolutely owning it.
As a team, this is quite a new dynamic for you. Your fight camp is over, festive season, end of year in South Africa. It's hot. Yeah. It's time to party. It's be with your friends. Now, this fight is going to be further travel distance away and a very different environment. I mean, how different is the preparation just to kind of get there, like you say, go through those familiarities for fight week?
That was one thing that as soon as they asked me for January, obviously I said yes immediately. But South Africa, I don't know about the rest of, I guess the rest of the world, but South Africa especially, no matter the economic state of this country, no matter the weather, no matter what happens, if there's two things people do not skimp on or take off. It's public holidays, to go camping or do whatever they do, and over the December holidays, people go on holiday. The country almost shuts down in a sense that it's hard work the whole year. Now it's time to relax, and this is the first time for me preparing over this time. I'm very close with my family, friends, and it was almost like I work hard the whole year round so I can have off this. And we've had a very hard and active year, great year. And for me, well, right now, it's just postponed. It's just postponed to the 20th of Jan. And it feels bad because this, I owe my family this. I owe the people close to me that I always, they have to take second seat to my career. And I was looking forward to these holidays, but now I'm looking more forward to the 20th of Jan, and they are too. They are going to with me. My whole family is going. So many of my friends are going to join. and my incredible coach and team, my whole coaching staff, my incredible team, it wasn't even a matter of negotiating. It was, listen guys, I'm fighting in Jan. Coach told them, and everybody said, cool, we're cancelling our holiday plans, and the whole team is staying. The whole team is going to will be off on the 24th and 25th, and that's it. That's a Christian holidays for us, and that's what we are going to celebrate. Obviously, taking those 2 days off, but that would be it. For the whole team is staying. The whole team is making the sacrifice, and I owe them big time, because without my team, I wouldn't be able to prepare for this fight at all.
Obviously, you're a massive Springbok supporter, like most South Africans, but you have more access to the guys. You know, you kind of were there when they went off to the World Cup. You were there famously at the final to watch them. The Boks get criticized a lot for style. You know, they won every game in the playoff by 1 point, and people say they weren't deserving finalists yet winners. And I feel in your career, people give you that same sort of shit almost. It's like they judge you all the things other than results and victories. Do you feel like you get a lot of inspiration from the Springboks? Do you feel like there's a lot of synergies between how they go about their work and you?
Yeah, I think that's such a when when I said these words, hulle weet nie wat ons weet nie, which is obviously now a thing, and that was exactly it. That was something how I came about with that, how that was structured in my mind before I said it was. It's so weird that I get this criticism, and like the Boks, you say that we get this criticism, but we as South Africa, we know what we want to go do when we go out there. The country knows what we want to go do when we go out and play rugby, when I go out and fight. And for the rest of the world, like you say, our style is like, they're like, this is not fair. This is not how you do it. But we know what we are doing, and they don't know up until the final whistle blows. Then they know what we just did. And that's where that whole sentence came about, and that's where we are different from anybody in the world. And that's why we are so good at what we do, because we believe in our system, and no matter what your opinion is on it, you just sit back and watch while we do what we do, and you'll just congratulate us afterwards. That's what it comes down to for me. No matter what you say, what you do, how you criticize, just wait till fight day comes. Just wait till game day comes. And if you win by inch or a mile, I guess that is a Fast and Furious quote, if you will. But at the end of the day, that's a fact. That if you win by 1 point, if you win by 100, we still have that World Cup, and I still have a title shot. It's no matter who says, that's how it works. But the similarities there is we outgrit, outfight, and in a lot of games it didn't look good for us. But that dog we have in us to fight, to get together and just pull everything, just willing to leave the last bit of our hearts and souls on the field or in that ring, in the octagon. That's what pulled me through so many times, and that's what pulled them through in this World Cup. Every single time, just their refusal to give up when a lot of teams would break under the pressure, or had to fight and claw their way back to that victory when it was almost seemed out of reach. That's what makes us different, and that's something that I look up to when I look at the Springboks and take from them. And that's what it comes down to, is that refusal to give up, going further than anybody else would even think about to get that victory. And that's what makes us South Africans different.
You were obviously there at the final. Do you feel like that makes your title shot now even more real? Having gone through that and understanding what it means to be a world champion, your favorite team, you see it in front of you. Does that now give you that extra sort of motivation, extra sort of drive that you felt maybe was not there prior to that match?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the motivation has always been there, but I think what this gives me, even growing up. I mean, I was 13 when the Boks won the 2007 World Cup. I was 1 year old when they won the 95 World Cup, and I remember the 2007 when I was 13. I remember that World Cup win so well. I remember watching the final. I remember the whole World Cup. I was following it. And even then, when you see guys that you've met, even though we just had a fan park of guys that's coming from the exact same place as you are, become world champions, immediately, for me, I went, I want to be a Springbok. I want to be a world champion. I want to represent the flag and wear green and gold and do it. And right now, that didn't change. I'm just not playing rugby. It's the exact same thing. I want to go out there and win a World Cup. and represent South Africa as being the best in the world at something. And it's not rugby, but it is to be the best in the world in MMA. And that's what I'm going out there to prove. And exactly, that's massive motivation to see South Africans go crazy. That motivates me because I also want to be one of those guys that people look up to and see as a superhero for the country.